Metropolis City Council order Tuesday, May the 26th, 2015. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Here.
Canada.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
McManus. Mizell.
Here.
And Short.
Here.
Thank you.
That Tuesday didn't roll out there as good as that Monday did. It just didn't sound right, did it?
Doesn't even feel right.
No.
You know?
We would, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the pledge of prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come tonight thanking you for each and every one at this table, dear Heavenly Father. We pray that each and every decision that we make here tonight will be for the betterment of the community. Be with our community, dear Heavenly Father, for the ones that have lost loved ones. Be with the sick. Not only be with the sick, but be with the caregivers. Be with our armed service personnel, dear Heavenly Father, not only on foreign ground, but here in the United States. Guide and direct their lives and bring them safely home to their families. Be with our nation, dear Heavenly Father, with the turmoil, the corruption, dear Heavenly Father, the turmoil with the weather. Be with those communities, dear Heavenly Father. We have all certainly witnessed and went through that. Guide and direct them. Ask in our precious name. Amen. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the last regular council meeting, 5/11/15. Moved by Mr. McManus. Second by Mr. Carroll. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
First item on the agenda, citizens' request. Mr. Ackerberry, sir.
Mr. Mayor, esteemed city fathers, ladies and gentlemen, some of you may know me, some of you may not. My name is John Eichelberry. I've lived in this community off and on for most of my 55 years. In that 55 years, I have not always walked on the proper side of the street as far as the law is concerned, but I never was real bad. But every time I was stopped by a police officer, whether I was on one side of the street or the other, I was treated with the utmost respect in this town. The police department in this town is dear to me. I like to refer to our police department as my police department. I feel the same way about our fire department. I feel the same way about our city workers. In a time when every police department in the whole country is being beaten upon by everybody who can open their mouth, I want to stand tonight and show appreciation for our fire department, our police department. They step in the gap when others won't. And with that being said, it brings me to my point. I know that at the last meeting y'all approved a national or citywide police and fire a week every year. I personally don't think that goes far enough. I think that on a yearly basis, we should have a police and fire appreciation day, where they're not just said something about in the paper, but where they're brought up on a podium, and for the cost of a few pennies that can be printed downstairs, a certificate of appreciation or an award of some sort be given to each and every officer, police and fire, so that they know that they are really, truly appreciated. And we can invite the county to join in with us. Also, I think our city workers. Now, I heard so many complaints over these last two snowfalls, made me sick. When do we get 14 inches of snow in a night? And them guys was out there. I mean, one of our city council members was down there trying to help them fix the hydraulics so they could get another piece of equipment out. Everybody wants to talk bad about our city workers, but we've got some of the cleanest streets around. Believe me, I was a truck driver. I've been all over this country, and I've had to drive through trash, but you don't drive through trash in Metropolis. You don't find piles of stuff laying every which city truck there picking it up. And I think, you know, I did supervision for a long time in construction. And a pat on the back does wonders. But you know what I found with my crews? Every now and again, if I'd have some kind of little picnic that cost them nothing to attend, maybe they could bring a covered dish, my morale on my crews would soar. My productivity would soar. And I think if we would do the police and fire and city worker appreciation day, and I mean that, the girl downstairs with Jan and all the other girls that work in the offices, the girls that work in the parks department, the city crew, all the guys, you get them together and have them bring a potluck. Maybe the city spring for a couple blow-up toys so their kids can play, or have it at a park where there's swings and stuff for them to play at, and maybe buy some soda pops and recognize them that's went the extra mile. I think our city employees' morale would be boosted. I think their productivity would be boosted. Sometimes that little gift, that little thank you is better than a raise in a paycheck. And it's a lot cheaper when you have as many employees as the city has. So for the cost of the blow-ups and maybe a few soda pops, what could we achieve with our city workers? What could we achieve? What more could we get from our city workers? They already work hard. I believe they work harder. And I don't know a better way to get a better police force. We have the best police force in the United States in Metropolis, Illinois. And, you know, maybe this isn't the place to applaud, but our chief is sitting right there. He needs our applause. And I applaud you, chief. You've got a great force. Our fire department is a good force. Our county officers are good county cops. I think we need to do something for them. And I think it needs to be voted on by the city council, and I think it needs to be a yearly event, not just one time, a yearly thing, and tell them thank you for all the hard effort, hard work they do, because when it was like, what, 10 degrees and 14 inches of snow, how many of you went out there and shoveled snow for the city? How many of you went out and cleaned the gutters, or the drainage away from the curbs so the water would drain? Our city boys did. Think about it. That's all I'm asking. And I don't think I'm asking for too much. So, city fathers, Mr. Mayor, esteemed corporate council, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time. I please ask you to consider genuinely and think about what our police officers and fire department risk every day when they put that badge and uniform on. Think about what our city workers brave every day when it's raining, sleeting, snowing, and shining, and they get out and go to work. Think about those things, would you please? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
John, thank you very much for your kind words. We'll have to, has anybody got a saw in their, you got a saw in your office? We'll have to cut that door to get
Carry
out.
on.
But I'm sure everyone on the city council and in these chambers, you know, Mr. Carroll, you know, served in the police department and the counties and things, so he understands probably a little more than what some of us understand, stuff like that. But we do have a good community. We have good city employees. We have good staff here in the city hall, and it always does good to, you know, hear a compliment off the streets and stuff like that, and we appreciate that very much, John. We thank you for your service in our community. Well, and, you know, we've all been on that other side of the street, so, some of us just never found the other side, but, moving on, thank you very much for your words. First item on the agenda, Mayor's report. Motion to accept closure of alley between Ferry and Metropolis at 5th and 6th Streets for St. Paul's Lutheran Church from July the 19th to July the 22nd for the purpose of Vacation Bible School.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. McManus and Mr. Carroll. And we will have, as the summer goes along, we'll have several of these come up and we always, it's not exactly, for Pacific, it's actually for the safety of the children and stuff in the community and stuff like that, so we applaud them for that. We do have a motion, we do have a second. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item, motion to accept application permit number 9 for the Franklin Pool improvement in the amount of $54,842.07.
I'll make a motion that we make that.
Motion made by Mr. Hall and Mr. McManus. Discussion.
I got a couple of questions that I'd like to
Yes, sir.
ask Chad here. I've seen, we got a delay on several things.
Yes, sir.
Is there any, and I tried to go back and look at the contract, is there anything as far as when we made appropriations to go ahead and finish the pool on a actually finish date or completion date?
Yes, sir.
What, is that gonna be, when was that? What was?
That was yesterday,
Yes,
was
okay.
the original completion date.
Uh-huh.
However, due to the sub-freezing weather there for about 2.5 months, they could be allowed time to extend their contract. The contractor has given me a no later than date of July 1st. So if we would like to review what days he's entitled to due to weather versus days that he was not there present working, I can give you a summary of that if you'd like to pursue.
My second question was, is there any way, if they're under contract, is there any way for them to work in 7 days a week?
I mentioned that to the contractor. That's one of those things that overtime plus Davis-Bacon wage scales that were required to follow some of the labor law stuff really get much more expensive for the contractor. At this point, I don't think working 7 days a week would actually cause it to finish that much faster, because we've got some critical path items that require a standing time. The biggest one that comes to my mind is the sealer for the floor. Once you put that down, nobody can walk on it for a week. So they're gonna put that down on a Thursday so that they can get back to work on a Monday or Tuesday. So their construction schedule's still allowing for production over the weekend when they're not there, but most of it is things like paint drying, concrete curing, caulk curing, some sealants for the showers, things that you don't need to be around, like it just has to have time to set up. So at this point, working another day or two a week really doesn't speed up the schedule that much.
I know Mr. Daughters worked on that, he was waiting for that to open, he worked on that project a lot, but, okay, that's all I
What is the
have.
new completion date now? No later than July 1st. No later. So it will be open July 1st, come hell or high water.
See, we're losing a full month of pool use.
Possibly sooner, but that's what the contractor agreed, or he said you can put this one on paper and publish it and tell anybody you want, because I'm gonna make that date.
All right, what if not? Is there a penalty clause after July 1st?
After July
Yes.
1st, definitely, there'll be enough dates that will be.
What's the chances of them get done before July the 1st?
I'd say highly. I don't wanna say how much sooner, but they'll be in a punch list type stage here shortly. And depending on that punch list, what follow-up items and, the little bit here, a little bit there, it could be as soon as a week sooner. But right now, it's a waiting game to see.
Chad,
Yes, sir.
who is responsible for getting the materials? Is that through this contractor, or did we oversee it, or did y'all oversee
The
price
contractor is,
materials?
Yes, the contractor procures these materials. Those were agreed upon at the beginning of the contract. He's got some of them stored on site, some of them stored on an off-site location.
Okay, I was seeing the one in there, like the polymer partitions in the bathroom. I mean, have we
Correct.
gone to the $30 toilet seats or what? Because I've done found them a whole lot cheaper.
Well, some of those were, we had to submit to the Department of Health, and they had to bless less off on each of the submittals. We've worked with, the plumber, Bill Nutty, he submitted some alternate bid items. And as long as they met the same criteria as the original specification by the architect, we were able to bless off on that, but there was a significant savings there because he contracted the price for those items that he knew he could get locally.
Okay. I was out there a few days ago, and there was 2 people working. Okay, now, when people ask me a question, they expect a truthful answer.
Yes, sir.
And when I ask a question, I expect a truthful answer back. I don't want smoke blowed up my rear end.
Yes, sir.
And so nothing gets under my skin any faster than hear an excuse and then come back and look through the bills and find that that has not been the case, okay?
Yes, sir.
And so, I mean, I'm not saying you did it, someone did it. I want to give everybody on notice that when I ask a question, I want truth. If I don't know something, I'll tell you I don't know. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
As far as the stuff on site and stuff, that's what you go through a bid spec for.
Mhm.
And everybody sitting at this table is gonna agree with what you just said. You could go buy a toilet seat a whole lot cheaper than maybe $100.
Mhm.
But according to the state specs and stuff like that, you can't go it's spec'd in there, what you can put in there and what you can't put in there. Just like the flooring and stuff like that, it goes with
Well,
state specs and
The
we've
one,
been
and the
through
reason
that.
I'm saying that, the ones I looked at was the ASEA
Yeah.
certified material, so
Yeah.
I'm sure that would have passed.
Maybe, maybe not.
And
But what you're gonna get into is that general contractor is, when you bid them specs out, he's not gonna run all over southern Illinois to pick up
I
a
understand,
seat. He's gonna
yes.
buy it
in
in
both,
volumes and whatever like that. And we all agree, anytime you're meeting city and state specs, it's probably at least 50% higher than it should be, but that's just the way it is. I mean, unfortunately, that's one of the burdens that we have to bear, and I don't like it any better than anybody else does, but.
in those partitions there was 22 of them, was that right? There's gonna be 22 stalls?
For the partitions are not only for the stalls, but the little half partitions between the urinals and it's that pallet of stuff that was sitting in the locker rooms.
Mhm.
So there's,
I mean, all I seen was 22 on the invoice.
Yeah.
right. So there's multiple walls and.
Well, every time you go through, you gotta have a petition there where you can't see around the corner, and it's just a lot of different things in there, but anyway.
But Mayor, you know, I think the city did a wise choice to go ahead and approve, even though we're paying for it, to get the pool done. Everybody be
yeah.
proud of it when it's done, so.
Well,
I know, Chad, that things happen, things when you get behind, but, I think everybody'd be proud every time.
oh
it's
yeah,
done.
they will be.
Well, if you didn't approve it, you wouldn't have a pool.
That's
Well, and
exactly
the thing
right.
about it is unfortunately, and we don't know exactly why, Mr. Abel kinda, over the holiday, of course, he had family, Chris has got family up at Carmine, they were here and there, and for whatever reason, Harrisburg, Carmine, and Marion, their pools, none of them are on scheduled open. And
They're all closed yesterday.
we don't know why, whether it's, where's the weather, you know, too cool,
Chester's gonna make theirs,
Two of them we saw didn't even look like
they're
they
gonna
were
make
anywhere
theirs,
near ready.
they're not even gonna have a pool, they're gonna make theirs,
splash thing.
no, it's gonna be, where you have musicals.
Oh,
They're not
okay.
gonna have a pool, they closed it,
Really?
they couldn't get it approved.
It's getting harder and harder. In fact,
State's getting worse all the time.
state health inspector actually showed up here last week. Just more or less out of curiosity, it wasn't an official inspection, he just wanted to walk through and see what was being done. It was it was a real surprise. Of course, typically their inspections are a surprise, but of course, we fully expect him to be back. I will tell you this, in order to save some costs and stuff, we actually have the lifeguards over there right now and sort of shorten this time frame. We've got them working since last week to to get the thing clean. They're cleaning the actual pool itself right now. They can't get in the construction part, but clean the pool. They're getting the pump house ready as well. We've already got, one of the, I think it's the backwash pump. We've already had it reconditioned. You gotta do that every year by Spear. There's already some supplies that have been ordered chemical wise, cause you gotta have all that stuff. Well, you gotta have it in advance, cause you gotta put the water in, you gotta treat it, you gotta have it all up to spec before you can actually open. And typically, we have to do some, well, this is about time we need to really paint the pool itself. Well, we're gonna buy the paint, the kids are gonna paint the pool. So, in the past, that's cost us anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000, and we're not gonna do that this year, they're just gonna paint the pool. And it'll look just as good, it's a 50-year-old pool, it'll look just as good if they do as anybody else does it. We are getting some new, gotta change out the drain covers in the pool. There's a federal law called the Virginia Graham law that went into effect. Every 5 years, you gotta change out the drain covers so you don't have the vortex and the suction in the bottom of the pool. That's gotta go on this year. We've already got that ordered. That should be here. We'll get those put in. Gonna have to do some actual reworking concrete wise of the gutters. We won't contract that out. We'll do that with our own guys, and even the kids will probably help do that as well. So we will, some of these costs do seem outrageous. We all agree. There's no doubt and no disputing that. But on the other side, on those things we can do, there is already a plan in place to make those things happen ahead of July 1 and make those things happen using our own kids and our own people to get it painted. Things that we can get by with that the state doesn't make us pay 7 arms and legs for, we're gonna do ourselves and make sure that happens. And that, like I say, in the past, that would've cost us $10,000 to $15,000, and this year it'll cost us a fraction of that. So,
When it's done, we've got years ahead that it's gonna.
well, that bathhouse should last you 50
It'll last
years.
another 50 years at
Yeah.
least.
The only next thing you'll probably have to do somewhere down the road is put a new skin on the pool itself. That'll be the next step. You got good underground plumbing leading to it. You got a good pump house and pump station down there. Just gonna have to redo the skin of the pool at some point. That'll be and then you'll have a pool probably for another 50 years there.
Good.
So,
You know, the state requirements on those toilets are very strict.
Oh, bad.
When we redid the community center where the Dippin' Dots site is now, we put a handicap restroom in there. We put a full toilet seat in there, and we didn't get permitted because it had to be an open toilet seat. Just didn't think of it. So we
Well,
changed it and everything was all right.
We've done the best we could economically and stuff like that, so it is a good thing. And if there is no other questions, we do have a motion, we do have a second. If no other discussion, call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item. Motion to accept K-9 replacement for the Metropolis Police Department in the amount of $8,950 from the Little Rock K-9 Academy. To date, a total of $2,300 in donations has been received, and all donations will be given to the city for reimbursement of the drug dog.
So moved. Second.
That was moved by Mr. McManus and second by Mr. Mizell. On that part of the discussion, this come up, Harry, a month ago?
Yes, sir.
Something like that. We actually had, the young men that actually taught our concealed carry classes actually went to them out of their own pockets, not city funds nor police funds. They actually purchased a dog. Didn't work out. We knew we were going to have to place the dog, so that dog is good, I guess, become a pet. Harry started then going down the line, checking with different academies and things like that. The first one we talked about, the dog was going to be about the same price, $9,000 to $10,000, but it was going to take 6 weeks, Harry? 10 weeks to actually train and certify. which is a great, great expense just for the training, not counting the dog. So Harry reached out and done a lot of research, called some other agencies and things like that, and came up with this Little Rock thing. Dog's about the same price, but I think, according to what I remember, 2-week certification and training with the handler.
Yeah, what's happening now is the dog that we chose is actually going through the obedience portions of the training courses, right now. July 13th is when Officer Davis will go down there, and it'd only be a 2-week class because it's training him to work with the dog, and then the dogs that get certified. So the dog is guaranteed to be pre-certified when he gets down there. That's part of the deal with this. So instead of 10 weeks of an officer being in an academy and all the overtime for backfill and everything else, we'll be able to do it in 2 weeks. And the price of Little Rock includes the hotel, where the State Police Academy, we would have had to come up with those funds also. So it's almost 50% cheaper going through Little Rock. And Little Rock is recognized by the state of Illinois, their certification, so we don't even have to do another certification for the dog once it comes back until next year, because the laws changed and the dogs have to be certified every year now. So he'll be good to go as soon as he gets back.
How long you think it'd take that dog to train Davis?
Well, if we can get the dog to learn how to drive, we won't need Davis.
You're gonna be a CNI dog.
Yeah.
So I said, if you've ever had somebody walk away, a child, or an Alzheimer's, or somebody in the middle of the night, that dog's worth $1 million
It is.
the cost
I
of it to
agree.
get
Oh,
that
yeah.
I
child
agree.
back.
This is one of the most important tools the police department can have.
Well,
And unlike our current dog, this will be a full-service dog also. So it'll be able to track humans, articles, narcotics, cannabis, and officer protection also.
and still do our school.
Right, and the
Training
temperament of
in the
the
school
dog that
system.
we chose, his name is Jacobo, which is Hispanic for Jacob.
Speaks Spanish,
His temperament for children was the best of the 4 that were available. So we'll still be able to do the dog presentations to the preschoolers and the elementary school. And when we do the school lockers, the high school kids will still be scared, so.
And what makes it just a little bit better is none of that money will actually come out of the police department's budget. For the newer elected officials, we get a insurance grant every year that can be used for different safety issues and things like that through our insurance carrier. And this year, in what we can use it for and what we can't use it for and stuff like that, I don't know exactly why they put that in or how they put it in there, but there was actually money for a canine police dog. So it is a legitimate thing that we can use that money for, so that will be money that's not budgeted. It has to be used for the safety grants and stuff like that, and we're not gonna have to take it out of our budget system, so that's a good thing. And like I said, Harry has already notified them. They picked the dog that was best suited for our area, what we use it for, and it's put aside, they're training it as we speak. So we do have a motion, we do have a second. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Next item. Motion to accept field service quotation from Solomon in the amount of $9,490 for the repairs on the east substation.
Make that motion.
Second.
Now, to bring you up to date, I called everyone on the council last week. I think it was last week, it might have been week before last, I think it was last week though. To go over this, why the emergency and whatever it is. We actually had anywhere from 30 to 90 days out time. That's how long it takes to get these people here. Verbal actually called me this morning and told me, I guess they had had a cancellation or were going to be in this area. They will be here Thursday. So that is really good news. We'll get this thing fixed and get it out of the way before hot weather hits. And, cause Verbal was kinda, and Stoney was the same way. He was worried about hot weather and then not being able to switch over and stuff like that. So they're supposed to, if the schedule stays the same, they will be here on Thursday to get this done. So that's a good thing. We do have a motion, we do have a second. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
If you, we do have an update, on the, fish company that actually is going to be here. We can either, just briefly discuss it here today. It is on the agenda for tomorrow for discussion, so, if you want to, I'll just wait. We'll elaborate a little bit more about it tomorrow. But we did have a really, really good meeting. The only other thing is just an update. The carpet has been picked out. It has been ordered. It will be here just as quickly as we can. Yes, that is the cost, yes. And, as soon as he can get the
We've already
material in.
voted on this.
No, we're gonna vote, no, we actually had an expenditure on that.
Okay.
We'll vote on, because it's not on here. Now, we can put it on the next agenda, to approve it. We actually, I called around to make sure we could order the dang stuff, but it will be voted on for the expenditure, which will be at the next city council meeting. And I don't know of anything else under the good of that. One thing fireworks. We have not been contacted by anyone pertaining to the 4th of July fireworks. It usually comes out of the, Harris, but I don't know if the changing of the guard down there has had something to do with it. Brad Hurst is no longer there, and I don't know that they've hired anybody yet. So that may be something that's fell through the crack. It was actually paid for, last year. It was actually paid, 3/4 of it was paid by Harris. And I think, Mr. Carroll, was not $3,000 or something like that paid out of tourism?
3,000 to 3,500.
Someplace in there, they paid for 75% of it. So we may be in a hurried up mode.
We'd probably be okay as long as we don't go out on the river. That was always the kicker, was to try to set them off from the river. If we set them off from the land, it's a lot easier.
We can control control
Insurance
our
is
own
not as
destiny
big an issue.
there. We actually put it down where the old substation used to be, down on, off of Front Street down there, and shot them on our property down towards Dorothy Miller Park. We got by with not having to have permits off the Corps and stuff like that, so we could probably still get that done pretty pretty fast. The company was in northern Illinois, so we're just gonna keep that open and see where it goes. But Daniil actually made me a note where I would bring it up. I'll try my best to find out where it's at, if it's just an error, or if they're gonna do it or not. So, I think that's the only thing I had to update. I think I've talked to almost everybody about everything else that's come up in the last week. So, Mr. Abel, if you'd like to go with your Mr. Corporate Counsel.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item we have is a motion to seek bids for the sale of the property located at 511 East 9th. This is a property we acquired some years ago. It was a property that was a dilapidated house, and we had to take it down, and I think the owner wound up deeding it attempted in the past to sell this property, but now we do have a serious interest in, from a neighbor that says, hey, I will buy it. So, for those of y'all that are new, there's essentially two ways to sell property when you're a municipality. One way we call the appraisal method, and what that requires is that we actually procure an appraisal, we make that appraisal public, and we accept proposals for that purchase of that property. But the price has to be at least 2/3 of the appraisal, okay? Well, most often we just don't get that, particularly on these small vacant lots. The other way is to simply advertise for bids 3 times, 3 consecutive weeks in a newspaper, and take the bid that you deem to be the best bid. That's what we're suggesting we do here. We don't look for this to bring a lot of money, but it's a small property that will, the owners at least will
Mow it.
probably mow it. We don't have to mow it. It'll go back on the tax rolls, collect little taxes on it. We always put a restriction on there, if it's in an area that's eligible for manufactured homes, that anybody that puts a manufactured home on it can't be more than 5 years old at the time they put it on there. That's to cut down on having potential junk brought in, because that's what we've had. If we didn't, we'd be dealing with the same issue again and again, time and again. So we've actually forwarded the notice to the Planet. It'll run this week and the next 2 weeks, assuming you all adopt the motion tonight. And unfortunately, the way the law is worded, you can't actually open until 30 days after the first publication. So the earliest we could open is likely going to be the first meeting in July. Okay, so it stretches it out a little bit, but that's just the way it works out. So
I make a motion, we seek bids for the property located for 511 East 9th Street.
I'll second that.
That's one of our very small slots we've got.
it is.
We do
Got
have,
3 foot of grass on it.
Yeah.
we do have a motion, we do have a second. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
It'll save us $500 at least a month or more, or a year, I should say, or summer, not having to mow it that else. The next item we have is, we had a first reading last meeting. This is the ordinance that would modify the rate schedule for sewers, residential sewers for people that live in Woodhaven. And I think it's in your packets again tonight.
It'll be number 05.
And that's, the only thing I did change is that you'll see in the last, from the one I put on there, in the last paragraph 4, it just said, due to the urgency of adjusting and heretofore inequitable billing practice, that this is gonna take effect June 1st. The reason for the doing that is you wanted to make it happen in June. Anytime we put that, we recite there's an urgency to get it done, then it doesn't have to wait 10 days to take effect. That's why. That's the purpose of that. So it will be able to take effect June 1st.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We do have a motion.
I'll second.
What's the number, clerk?
05.
505.
21505. What'd I say? Oh, yeah, yeah.
We do have a motion by Mr. McGuire and a second by Mr. McManus. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
I've got about 3 more things here. Did you know, a lot of times, I probably put in front of you tonight, there's a little memo, a couple memos, emails that I got. One concerns what Ameren's rates look like for the balance of 2015. The reason I give you that is so you can see that we are highly competitive when it comes to our residential rates with Ameren and anybody else. What that means, if you look at the Ameren SIPs, that's what their base energy rate is gonna be, and to that, that's delivered to a 138 kV point. That's like Ameren delivered our 69 kV point, if you will, out here. And then it has to go out to the customers. Their all-in cost is gonna range somewhere in the 10 point, if I remember right, about 10.7 to 11.7 range over the next year. And, that makes us very competitive, okay? Makes us extremely competitive. And they've already applied for rate increases for next year too. So I mean, this idea that energy and electric delivery, is going to go up, is gonna happen everywhere. It's not just here, it's not just Paducah, it's gonna happen everywhere. Now, that said, I know that there's been a lot of talk that Illinois legislature is gonna take up some energy bills this spring, and there were some introduced. There was a bill introduced on behalf of Exelon, that's one of the memos that I sent you. Exelon had basically said, look, we didn't get picked up in the power auction last year, with our nuclear power plants, okay? They were too expensive, supposedly. So, if we're not gonna get any money for those, we're not gonna be able to sell them in the capacity market, we're gonna shut them down. So legislature, you better bail us out. We got clean energy, you better bail us out. There was also a move this spring by a number of the renewable energy suppliers or the renewable energy lobby to up the portfolio standards, because every energy supplier in the state is supposed to have a certain amount of renewable energy in their portfolio. For the most part, municipals and co-ops have been exempt from this, and we hope that continues, but we don't know. That's why you see IMEA has a fair amount of wind power, they got 70 megawatts of wind, and we're now starting to develop a couple solar pilot projects, just in case that trend continues. Those standards they were trying to raise both on solar and on wind power, that didn't get through. And then the third thing that would have affected coal, and I know several weeks ago, probably several of you heard about Representative Bradley from Marion. He had introduced a bill in which they were trying to level the playing field between Western coal and Illinois coal so that power plants in Illinois could burn Illinois coal. And the route they were taking, they were saying they were going to take, was that right now the power plant gets to pass on to its customer the cost of transporting that Western coal to the power plant. Okay, well, if you bring Powder River Basin coal from Wyoming into a power plant in Illinois, they're saying that the cost is about $26 a ton on that coal. Well, by the way, at Prairie State, where we have the coal right next door, it's only $22 a ton, period. But on average in Illinois, it's about $6 a ton delivered to the power plant. The idea was that supposedly that some of that savings could be passed on to the consumers, and some of it would be held in a fund by the state and made available to power plants to install the scrubbers, so that we'd have clean coal in Illinois. The details never got put to it. I think there was some misconceptions around that actually got to be a bill, it got passed, and it was going to be in effect. No, none of that. That's all. The plug's been pulled on that. None of that's going to make it through in this session. Now, there is talk that it will get brought up in veto session, and they're looking for a bill that takes care of everybody, from Exelon to the clean power folks to the coal folks. And hopefully we'll see something come out of that. But, and you might think, well, why do I bring this stuff up all the time? Well, it directly impacts us here, not just because of the power we sell and what it's going to cost our customers, but it impacts us because of places like Dynegy. What's going to happen to an older power plant like that if they're forced to put the money into scrubbers and other things by 2018? Well, industry folks predict they'll close, okay? What's going to happen to cooked coal? Where's that coal going to come from, and where's it going to go to? And we have other employers that will be impacted by that. So that's why we do want to talk about these things. That's why we want to keep you updated on these things as they happen, so that you'll continue to see the whole picture of what is taking place. I don't know what'll come out of veto right now. Doc Mueller doesn't seem to know, and Doc's been around forever, but they do feel like they're, if not by veto session, by next spring, we're going to see some sort of comprehensive energy bill in Illinois, trying to set energy policy. A couple things are going to impact that. Clean Air Act regulations that federal EPA is pushing down on the states, those are going to, we're expecting that stuff to get announced by this fall also. So that's going to have an impact on how do we meet these new clean air standards. And nobody really knows for sure. Although IEPA so far has taken a much more power plant friendly approach than federal EPA. I mean, they're looking at it from the standpoint, we can't wreck our economy, we can't wreck our towns and our jobs, just to make this work. We've gotta come up with a plan that does work and it can be met. Also, on another item, I put in your packets, there is a brief update. I had a little memo on one of our revolving loans I had a couple questions about. If anybody's got any questions, just see me and I'll fill you in more, but I thought I'd give you an update on that. And then the last thing, I also put a memo in your packets that I sent to the mayor to update you on our IEPA loan. For those of you that are new, we have, some years back, we were required, because we still have a combined sewer system, to come up with a plan for how we're going to reduce or eliminate the overflow discharges. That's when we get too much rain and we shoot the sewage out into the Ohio River, okay? And so over a period of years, we developed what's called a long-term control plan, and that was approved by the city and approved by the IEPA, required by law. And then that was incorporated into what's called our NPDES permit. And we have permits for our wastewater treatment facility, we have permits for our CSO, we have permits for, what else, Frank? Sludge. Okay. Sludge removal. So, as a part of those permits, we have a project schedule that we're supposed to meet, okay, for getting us, so we don't keep throwing sewage, raw sewage out into the river. And we've been working on that project schedule, and there are a number of programs that are, things that are set in place, phases, if you will. But part of what came available last year, we were made aware that IEPA has a revolving loan fund, just kind of like we have one. They get money from the federal government. It's gone into this loan fund. They have more money than they've typically had. They reached out to us and said, here, you need to tap into this fund. It's a low interest fund. It's around 2%. And use this to fund the cost of your projects you're gonna have to do to meet your permit requirements. So we've gone through the process, all the designs, all the permitting, and the application for the loan was made. It's taken them quite a while to review it. We were in they call it in the queue, so to speak. It's kind of like being in the hopper, and they take it one at a time. We originally thought they were gonna have this done by last December. It didn't happen. We're now finding out that we're right there now. We're right there now. So we do anticipate probably hearing approval on that by sometime in the next couple of weeks. I talked to Sarah Tebby, and Sarah's handling that on our behalf. She works for HMG, but she's handling that on our behalf. Talked to her. Expect that in a couple of weeks. After that, we will be authorized to finalize our plans and go out for bids. Obviously, we won't know what it's gonna require until we actually give bids. And now, of course, once we get the bid specs done, they gotta look at them, they approve them. We go for bids, then they get the bids back, we open the bids, and we basically, we still have to send them off to EPA, because all the bids, even though we make what's called a conditional award, that says, okay, you're the low bidder, you got the job, subject to IEPA's approval. They got a minimum of 90 days to review the bids, okay? So anybody that bids knows that it may be a while before we hear anything.
Is the bids actually gonna be for the whole completion or parts?
It will be for, well, it'll be on however we've spec'd it. I mean, there's different components to the whole thing, so they'll bid each one, yes.
Schedule.
However many, whether it's phase 1, A, B, and phase 2, and phase 3, I don't know how much is actually in it. Whatever we approved last year is what will go out for bids, okay? When we looked at about $6 million is what we came up, that's what we expect to go out for bids. And then what will happen is once the EPA approves, then they'll come back to you and issue you a loan agreement that you'll approve and go forward. It will likely be sometime, Sarah and I talked about, she thinks maybe by November, we'll have their approval sometime in November. I'm banking more like December, and then so that
Now,
means.
was that part of Frank's old sewer plant?
Well, you had originally had part of the,
That's the reason why.
the bar screen replacement was in there, but you pushed that back a little bit.
Backing out, right.
You backed that out.
Move something in
That
front
was
of it.
2.3 million, if
Yeah.
I remember right.
Yeah.
We backed that out.
kinda wanted to give you a time frame. You're probably looking at sometime next winter or next spring before this thing actually kicks off. And we're probably looking at early August even, early to mid-August before we even know what the costs will look like for sure. So that's where we'll be. And so we'll be having more committee meetings, there'll be water, light, and street committee meetings as we go along. But I wanted to give you an update and let you know where everything stands at this point.
Anything else?
I hope it'll be faster than the Olmsted Dam.
Well, that's
Well, that's one thing, they,
It's never gonna be
and so far, I've asked the question about, well, you know, it's gonna be hard to meet the timeframes we said when they're taking this long to review things, and that seems to be understood, that will take
So that's
a
better.
little longer,
yeah, the French Fort Mass, like they can't get their, permit to tear it down, and they're going over the, contract. It's been there for months.
Everything's stacked up on the desk,
I can imagine.
you know, they've moved. Everybody that's familiar with these, and the EPA's no different. Each one of those departments, the people have been either dismissed or replaced, and they may have somebody in the sewer department now that come from IDOT, you know, that knows nothing about
Amen, that's what
whatever.
happens.
well, that is a little bit of it. For the last 4 years, we've dealt with a gentleman by the name of Roger Ballbrot, and now we're dealing with George Lambert. Now, don't get me wrong, Mr. Lambert's been there a long time, and he's very
He's a
good.
decent
and
guy, yeah.
He's very good, he can move this stuff pretty good. But Mr. Ballbrot retired in the middle of this project, and that seems to be pretty customary, and then that gets it pushed to somebody else's desk, and we start over again. So, that's all I have.
Okay. Next committee report, planning and zoning. Short, sir. You do. It's on Central School property. That's a recommendation coming out of the planning and zoning. If you would like to have a motion, then we'll discuss.
I'll make a motion.
And Chad can explain it to us.
I second it.
Obviously, it's 06.
We have a motion, we have a second. Mr. Chad, you're on the floor.
Oh, this is the, at your last council meeting, you had a first reading to adopt an ordinance amending zoning district boundaries. Planning Commission received a request at the end of April to rezone the central school property, central school block, 1100 block of Ferry Street, from its R1, it's residential zoning to a C1 commercial zoning in order to help potentially facilitate the proposed project for a multi-family senior community home. We held planning commission initial review, planning commission hearing, submitted an advisory report to council, had a first reading of the ordinance on the last agenda. And I don't know if you have the final ordinance packed tonight, but we have ordinance, looking for a motion to adopt an ordinance amending that zoning district from residential to C1 neighborhood business in order to help support the comprehensive plan, which its future land use is institutional, and to help also potentially support this possible proposed project and move it along. So, Mr. Pete.
If you remember at the last meeting when we talked about it, we actually talked about it, when the gentleman was here, Pete? Is that his name? Yeah. And Chad actually did email me the list of proposed developers that these people had been in before. I actually contacted each one of them myself personally, and Mr. Abel reached out to some of our IMEA sister cities that we do business with through the agency, and everyone we talked to had nothing but the utmost regards and praise for this company. Rand Tool not only has one, but they're actually entering into an agreement as we speak for another senior citizens program, kind of like what we're doing in the first one. And the other two were, that I actually contacted were up in Ohio, and, same thing, easy to get along with. I wasn't as worried about the construction part of it. They'll be pretty easy to get along with when they're doing that. But the aftermath of, okay, how do they run them? Do they have good guidelines? Do they screen? Do they do what they say? If you've got a resident that's disruptive, did not meet the agreements of the contract, and each one of them, all three of those cities told me that they were first class, put up with no foolishness. If they didn't take care of their property and said so forth, and some of them have had a long-term project with them, they've never had to get on them. They've never had issues with people tearing the property up, noise, parties and stuff like that. They say that they do a really, really good job of policing their own facilities. So I was real excited about that. So, and Rick's contacts were the same way. And I don't know, Mr. Kennedy, did you have time to stop by the Rantoul one?
Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, it was, they didn't have apartments, all they had was the cottages.
Okay.
But they set back and ran the whole block down and around, and they connected the whole way, so all the yards were really nice. There's driveways, there was no cars parked out in front of the street. It was probably be the nicest complex we have in town.
That's good. So that's where we're at there. So, Mr. Short, you do have a motion, you do have a second.
Call the roll.
Barfield,
Yes.
Canada,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Mizell,
Yes.
and Short.
Yes.
Chad, do you have anything else?
No, sir. Unless there's anything.
You know, Mayor, of late, Chad's been up here several times, and he's our planning and zoning administrator, and I think we need to say thank you to Chad for the time he's put in and for a job well done.
I
Thank you,
agree.
Chad.
Thank you very much.
Next time, bring the pizza.
Yeah, speech.
Well, Chad's job's kind of like, you know, a lot of them. Sometimes you're just not up to here, but when you're up to here, you're almost up to here. You know, so at times he is overwhelmed and things like that, and it kind of runs in cycles. You know, you won't have a great big project, maybe for some time, and then all at once you'll have 10 people wanting to build a garage or move this, move that. So at times he is busy, and we do appreciate what he does for us. With these people coming in, I mean, he's the guy I get on the telephone and say, Chad, I need 10 maps, you know, the industrial park and the utility schedules and stuff like that. And we always have them and stuff like that, and we do appreciate it. Department heads, Mr. Harry,
Nothing at this time. Just thank
is there anybody behind Ken? All right. Chad, do you have anything you want to add?
No, sir.
Chad?
Nope.
Frank?
Nothing at this time.
Old business. New business.
I've got my new housing meeting Thursday at 11 o'clock.
Yes, sir. And we do have committee meetings tomorrow, starting at 1 o'clock here in these chambers. And I encourage everybody that can. We're gonna be talking about some things. We're gonna bring you up to date on the fish processing thing. I have some maps. I didn't print them out. Well, I take that back. Chad did print me one, I did copy the rest of them, so, you know, I did my part.
You printed
You know, I printed them out, so, and we'll be going over there. I'll have one for each one of you. It might be something you wanna put in your folder and stuff like that, because it does have your utilities marked, where the water line is, where the sewer lines are, how far the electricity goes and things like that. We're gonna be talking about some of that stuff tomorrow. Miscellaneous reports. Financial report, payment of salaries, payroll, and contract bills. Moved by Mr. McManus.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mizell. Call the roll, please.
Barfield,
Yes.
Canada,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
McManus, Mizell,
Yes.
and
payment of miscellaneous bills.
Make that motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. McGuire. Call the roll, please.
Barfield.
Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus. Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have no need for an executive session. The meetings tomorrow will start at 1, Water Light Street at 1:30 ordinance, 2 o'clock the industrial. Before we ever get started, I can tell you we're gonna be running over those schedules. We've got more to talk about than that, but you never know what's gonna happen. And for the new ones, we schedule them knowing that we're not going to start at 1:30 for the second meeting. Probably not gonna happen. But if something was to happen, and maybe some of the things that come up, we cannot start that next meeting till 1:30. So we have had occasions that we sit around here for 10 or 15 minutes waiting to get started. So we always kind of backlog them a little bit, don't worry about it. The chairman of the committees, do not worry that you're not on schedule. We don't expect you to be on schedule, we'll just move on with that. For the good of everybody concerned, I do want to thank you all for that tonight. I hope you had a good holiday over the weekend, stuff like that. And, you want to watch television tonight?
No, I have nothing on.
We do need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
That's kind of a little fun because there's a couple that actually have a couple of things they watch on, today's Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, so it wouldn't make any difference on Monday night, so they kind of hurry you along a little bit before they.
I figured she wanted to watch that America's Got Talent.
I watched 2 shows. The Black List.
I hate that show. I don't want to watch it. Call the roll,
Barfield.
please.
Canada.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
McManus.
Yes.
Mizell.
Yes.
And Short.
Yes.